Secondly, they indulged in sexual immorality. Like I said, for the Corinthians, this was something of, when you went to the temple, that's what happened at the temple. It was part of the worship. For the people of Israel, it was just a mistake they made in the desert, wandering around for the 40 years, and then once they got to the promised land, to indulge again in some worship, and in some cases, just making mistakes, messing up. Third, the last two go together. The last two go together. We should not test the Lord, as some of them did, and do not grumble. Do not test the Lord, and do not grumble. First off, we can push God, and grumbling is another form of pushing God. You're not quite providing for us the way I wanted you to. Why couldn't you do it this way? And when God answers, he says, it's because my way was better. Your way would not have resulted in a very good result. One of my most fun books to read when I was a child, and when I can find them, I like to do them, they're the Choose Your Own Adventure books, where you get to read a page introduction, you get into the story, and then you are given a choice. You can either go with the professor, or you can go with the model. When you go with the professor, you start on your road to solving the case. When you go with the model, she kills you. That's where you fall into a pit and you're done and you have to go home. Each thing along the way, you take a left, you take a right. One way's good, one way may not be so good. Sometimes either way is okay, it just takes you on a different story. But God knows that route that you're supposed to take, that route that's the best for you. And although sometimes we'll still get to a conclusion on other roads, God's road is best. We get frustrated with them. We get frustrated with not knowing what's happening tomorrow. We get frustrated with wondering what we should do when things are hard, when things are challenging. We have to trust. This is up against idolatry, up against worshiping God. Sexual immorality, up against glorifying God through our marriages. And testing God, up against trusting God. Thinking we have the right answer versus God having the right answer. Each of those things is all saying we know better than God. On the other side, it's God is in control. And the thing is as we live our lives, each of these things are things that we can have problems with, that we can trip up in. Each of these things happened to them as an example and were written down as warnings to us on whom the fulfillment of the ages has come. So if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. Once again, he is saying it happened to them. It can happen to you. It's written down just so that you can learn enough so it doesn't happen to you. So you don't mess up. Stand firm so that you don't fall. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. Remember, this doesn't say to you, once you have Jesus, once you have received had a spiritual mountaintop experience, it doesn't say you're not going to be tempted. Life happens. We're in the world. We're not pulled out of it. We're not taken away from it. We are here to serve him. We are here to be an example. And part of that being an example is standing up under temptation. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. And some days we will ask him, are you sure I can bear this? Are you sure I can handle this? Because I'm kind of starting to wonder if this might be a little bit too much temptation for me. the side is for us. We know Paul had one. We all do too. Something will needle us. Some temptation gets to us. How are we going to stand up under it? But when you are tempted, he will provide a way out so that you can stand up under it. It doesn't say he's taking the temptation away. It doesn't say he's taking the problem away. He says he's giving you a way away from the temptation, to get away from it. And for some people, what this means is when they're in recovery from addiction, it means they leave town. They go somewhere else. They get away from the people who are helping them to stay in their situation. That's one of the key things of Shepherd's Heart was when you put them in their recovery, when you get them out, you literally get them out and say, please stay away. Because what's going to happen? Time and time again, what happened was when they would come back to Pittsburgh, fall in the same traps, they'd run with the same people. It happens to people who had a rough time in high school and ran with the wrong crowd, goes off to college and everything's good. They come back to town and they find a couple of those people. Those temptations come back. He'll provide you a way out. And even in those situations, God will provide a way out. But remember, when God opens the door, we have to walk through it. We have to walk through it. He provides the way. He shows us the way. He gives us something. We just have to stand up under it. This is how you live your life as a believer. It's not that when we have these special things that happen to us and that when we have come to faith, that this all goes away. What it does promise us is that we have a God who's going to help us through it. We have a God who stands behind us. And we have a God whom we're serving, whom we can look to. So that we don't just go to our own way. Because our own way is going to drag us down. The desires of the flesh is going to drag us down. The desires for God is going to raise us up and set us up in a different place that sets us apart. And for those old friends and those familiar temptations, it can be easy to fall back to our way of life before we knew who Christ was. But he'll provide us a way that we can look to him and be an example and to reach people in ways that we never thought we could.